Hello, it's Jean. So today we are going to make a masterboard. I am participating in a collaboration with several YouTube creators for the 31 days of March, and we're having masterboard inspiration. So I am going to spend a little bit of time with you today. This might be a little bit longer video, but I want to show you one of my fun processes for creating a masterboard. Here are all the details. It's hosted by Hazel, and her channel name is here. And if you watch, comment, like, subscribe, you could become a winner at the end of this project. So I'm sure Hazel will be announcing that sometime in April, and whatever it is she decides, it's going to be an amazing, amazing prize. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to all the participants listed in the description box. So today is my day, the 12th of March. Previous day was my friend Martha, and she did a beautiful masterboard, so make sure you check that out. And then Pam is tomorrow. So I am not going to go through the whole list of participants, because if you've been following along on the video compilation, you've noticed that there are several participants that you may already know or have known of. And yeah, so let's get into this, and let me put this aside. So what we're going to do today is play a masterboard game, or roulette as I like to call it. And I have three lists here. I have a technique, I have a color, and I have a medium. Okay, I made these nice and big so everybody could see them. They may not always be on camera just because of the space allowance that I have here for you to see in. So if you want to, I'll make sure that I put them at the end in case you want to copy them or something similar. You can make up your own, of course. So let me move these aside for a moment. And what I have here is just a base of 2 pieces of mixed media cardstock. And on top of that, I placed some security envelopes to go around the edge. And then this is a map, of course, of the state of Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And to see where I live, I'm somewhere over here in this little tiny spot by the border of Maryland. But it's so small, I can't really see. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, somewhere over here in this area. But that's the whole huge part of Pennsylvania that some of it I probably haven't even been to. At any rate, we're going to make our masterboard on top of this. Now, I know a lot of people tear papers and do different things. I'm just starting with a base that I feel like is interesting. You can start with white paper, whatever you want to start with. So I have a die, and I am going to have out my 3 things that I need here. So the first number is a 5, and under color, that's going to be turquoise. And the next number is a 2, and that's going to be an ink or a spray. So that goes back and this comes in. And then the last thing is number 4, which is a stencil. So we're going to use a stencil, some ink or spray, and we're going to use the color turquoise. So believe it or not, a stencil is one of the things I didn't pull out. Just because I forgot. Not because I didn't want to use one. I think I'm just going to grab one that's rather simple to start out with. And then if we do stencil again, I'll get more involved. So as you can see, this is my very loved circle stencil. And the one thing about this stencil is that it doesn't lay very flat. So we'll have to see how our ink actually shows through this. So let me go ahead and start by adding a little bit of the teal. And we'll lift this up. Okay, so it's adding some circles. That's great. Let me do some over here, over here. So it doesn't really matter according to your number, whether you need to do, how many you need to do. So just do whatever you want as far as the amount of. So I'll lay this aside so it can dry. All right, so that was the first one. And then we're going to spin again. So we have 4, which is the color pink. I have a pink blush here. Let's see what else we find out. the technique, or I'm sorry, the technique is stamp. And then lastly, it's crayon or pencil. So for this one, we're going to need either a pink crayon or pencil. So I have a lot of colored pencils and also crayons. So let's see. I think using crayons would be really cool because crayons sort of create a resist due to the waxiness of the product. So I'm actually going to use tempera crayon. So whenever you are doing this process and you have your list of items, you can certainly change it up and, you know, do it however you want. So for this, I'm just going to make a few marks here and there. This is a tempera crayon, and it's actually paint. And I'm going to go around the edges here of some of these places. I don't want to get too crazy with the pink because it's a neon color. But these are fun to use. I call them crayons. Other people may call them something else, but they are a paint, tempera paint. So we're just gonna add some, and we added a lot more than I probably normally would, but that's okay. So let's go on to number 1. Okay, color. I need to mark these because I need to make sure I do them in order. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so the first one is color. We have peach, and then next we have gel plate, and next we have texture paste. That's going to be fun. I haven't used my gel plate. I have just a little tiny one with texture paste before, but we will try it out. I'm just going to put a little bit of texture paste on here. And here's the peach. So we'll put some peach paint down. This is peachy pink, actually. And then I'm going to put in some texture paste. I probably should have done it the reverse, but I'm worried about it sticking. So I'm going to go ahead and squish this out. I can pick up my plate here and just kind of get some on there. I don't want to use a whole lot because of making sure it comes off my gel plate. Let me put this over here. And this texture paste that I'm using, this is just a Liquitex a modeling paste or texture paste. So we're just going to plop this down in different places. It is going to look thicker simply because it has the texture paste on it. But let me do this one a little bit. And, you know, it's interesting that when we create something, we start to see what our preferences are as far as color palette. So let me wipe this off really quick so the texture paste doesn't stick on my gel plate. Okay, we may need to use it again. So let's put it right here. Those are some pretty bright colors, but I like it. Now, when I do this masterboard, I'm not so much worried about letting things dry in between because the mediums sometimes will mix together and look really cool. So let me roll this again. We have a 5 for number 1, which is turquoise again. And number 4 is stencil. And number 6 is texture paste. Okay, turquoise, stencil, texture paste. So we'll go back to using this one since it already has turquoise on it. And this time I'm going to use my, let me see if I have another palette knife here. Of course I don't. Do I have one here? No, I don't see one. Okay, so we'll just use this. This is I think an old letter opener, but we're going to use it. And this is my homemade palette. It's just the lid of a jar of like a cottage cheese or yogurt lid. They work well. Although my husband begins to wonder why all of his containers for soup storage end up having no lids. And that's why. Okay. Then I'm going to use this teal. I'm going to use some of this, oops, painty teal. It runs out really quick. And I'm going to use the same palette knife, so hopefully the teal will override the pink and we won't get brown. Mix this up. And it's okay if it's a tealy pink. Now the white in the texture paste, since it's not a clear texture paste, it's going to give this more of a lighter look, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little bit of this on. I don't want tons of it. I don't need a lot of texture paste on here. And I'm putting it on rather lightly because of the... We'll be putting other things on top of it, of course, that's why. So I'm just going to go around in a couple spaces. I want to get this border too. I love the security envelopes. If you take a look at them at all, they have really nice designs on the inside of them now. Really cool designs. So make sure you save your business envelopes because there's cool designs on the inside that you can use in your master boards or collages or whatever you like to do. Okay, so about 3 places. That got a little bit thick there, I think. Try to scrape that out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so there we are with that one. Let's roll again. Okay, so number 2 on color is green, okay? And then number 6 on technique is fingers. I love me some finger painting. And number 3, medium is crayon. So we're not going to be able to finger paint with crayon. So let's see what else we come up with. Texture paste. Rolling again. Watercolor. Okay, finger painting with watercolor. Okay. Shall we see? Okay, what I have been using lately for watercolor have been these markers. So looking at this color scheme, I think I'm going to stick with some yellow, maybe yellow. And I'm just going to put it on like this, and then I'm going to dip my fingers in the water, and then I'm going to kind of smear it around. Now, this is not going to work quite as well as it would on something like watercolor paper, so we're just going to make this work with the watercolor marker. And these watercolor markers do work really well if you're using them on watercolor. So there, we added our yellow. Okay, getting into a different color scheme now. All right, so let's roll again. And for number 1, we have turquoise again. How about we roll this silly dice and see if we can get something other than the same numbers? 2. Okay, green. We'll take that. 5 is gel plate. And 6 is texture paste again. Okay, so green. This is some parakeet green here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of texture paste. And this time, instead of, let's see here. My gel plate, I'm just going to put a little bit on at a time and squish that down. Try to even make it like in a circle. This reminds me of a garden already. Wanted to do something over there because that's a little bit thick. We'll push that back some. Push that back a little bit. Now, the fun thing about doing a masterboard this way, where you play the roulette, is you never know what you're going to get. Now, I never played any type of dice game other than Yahtzee, probably, or Sorry, or something like that. So, if I have, if I don't roll very well, please don't hate me by the time we're done. Okay, number 3 on color is black. Okay. And number 5 on is technique is gel plate again. And let's get watercolor. Black watercolor. Let me see. Black watercolor with the gel plate. Okay. Let me make sure this is all cleaned off. And let's see if my black marker's in here. I don't know if that's black or green. It's green. Okay. Let's see if I have a black one. Is this one black? This one kind of looks black. Okay. So I'm going to just put this on with some water. And we'll just squish it here. And we'll do some more. This is a nice, fun, messy project, too. So if you like to get your hands dirty, this is the one for you. Okay, just a couple blobs of black should be good. So there we have our black. Now, I'm going to roll one more time to see what we get to put on the base of this. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a couple things myself, just because of what I like. So number 1 is peach. Number 2 is stamp. And number 3 is gesso. Okay. So, peach, gesso, stamp. Okay, I have a stamp over here that's more of an acrylic type stamp. So let me see if I can mix some gesso with some pink. I'm just going to paint this on here, and hopefully I'll get enough on to make some type of impression. So let's see. We'll try something right here. Okay, very cool. It comes out nice and pink, which is fine. Okay, love that, because that gives a lot more texture and depth to it. I hope you guys can see that. I'm going to put some over here. So this is one of these stamps that doesn't really matter what direction you go, or, you know, and just put it anywhere. Okay. So we have some stamping on there now, which that looks really good. I am going to roll one more time and see what we get. On number 2, we get green again, and we get stamp. No, 1 is spatter, sorry. And 6, texture paste. We are not spattering texture paste. We are spattering watercolor. Okay. That, my friends, is going to be more of a challenge. Let me see where my watercolor palette is. My watercolor. Okay. All right, what color were we supposed to use? Green. Okay, where is my brush here? So for this, I'm dipping a fan brush into some green watercolor I have over here. Here's my watercolor palette. As you can see, it's a terrible disaster, although I don't know anybody that's not. I'm just spattering. I might need a little bit more water for that. My dice is all green. Get some more water. Sometimes with watercolor, I think it's best to have it really watery if you're going to try to spatter, because it is a thinner medium than, like, let's say, acrylic. So I just want to make sure we can see the spatterings. Oh yeah, there we go. We're seeing more of them. That looks really nice. I really like the colors that I chose for this. These are colors that I like. The lime green is a little bit more limey than what I normally use, but I like the way that it gave the piece, if it like a garden vibe, where it still has some of the peachy and the green together, and even the teal. It looks really nice. So at this point, I'm just going to do a couple things on my own that I think need to be done to kind of complete the piece. And I'm going to use some of this peachy pink because I don't want it to turn brown, so I may have to just use it out of the bottle. And since my fingers are all texture pasty and, you know, all that fun stuff, we'll just not worry about getting messy at this point, right? We're already in the messy stage. Another thing is I wanted to use a little bit more yellow. I think it needs some yellow. Now, sometimes when we are creating a piece and we see some of the colors, or we look at it as a whole and we think, I'm not sure I'm too keen on this piece, or I don't know if this is what the outcome was that I really wanted. It's okay, because what you are going to do more than likely with your masterboard is cut it up into smaller pieces. And when you cut this up into smaller pieces, you start seeing it in a much different light. So I may decide that I need to have another color on here just to kind of bring it all out. And you have to not only envision it as a large piece, but also envision it as a smaller piece. Because as a smaller piece, the individual pieces that you're going to end up making are going to make all the difference. Now, I have to put some gold in this. So let me see if I have a piece of plastic right here. This, I don't know what it came from, but we're going to use it as a palette. So I'm going to pour out some gold. And I'm using a generous amount, and I'm going to pour in some water. This is just paint water, so it's not really going to affect the color. And I'm going to swirl it around here. I might have used a little bit too much water. We'll see. I don't want the color. Let's see. Where's my little fan brush? Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to spatter some gold on here. Okay, I need a little bit more gold paint because it's just coming out very light. So when you choose to spatter, you know, the amount of paint to water ratio is important depending on how, like this is a really metallic-y gold. So if you want it to be more metallic-y looking, the less water you need to use. So I just use way too much, but that's all right. I like the gold, so we'll put some puddles of it on here, and we will put some over here. And I love the fact that I can still see some of the map sticking through. I don't know if you guys can notice that, but the map showing through makes it quite interesting too. Yes, I'm very happy with how this turned out. So there is our gold spatters and blobs and colors. So this really needs to dry in order for me to continue with the next step. So I'm going to attempt, I'm not sure if I have my heat gun here. Let me see. I'm going to attempt to dry this with my heat gun, and then I will come back and I will show you what I've done to finish the piece up. Okay? Thank you for watching so far, and I will be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. It is the same day because you can tell by my painty hands, but we're pretty much dry. And what I did, the only thing I did since I had you off camera was I took a roll, toilet paper roll, and just added some circles in here to kind of add some interest. Now what I'm doing is I'm going over some of the yellow spots and I'm creating some floral elements. Now, as we talked about before, once you cut these down into a more manageable size, you will see how even having a partial floral image on one of your cards will be so interesting. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of doodling here and making a few spots where we have some flowers. Over here's a yellow one. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see it very well, but I'm going to rapidly just make some wonky petals. And this one has some green, so we'll add a leaf here and we'll add one here. And this one had green, so I was in the process of making this one. Make another little one here if we want to. This one also had some green beside it. So, and this one. This one does too. So I think we have, this one's kind of a yellow spot here. So why don't we just kind of make another flower right here. We'll just make it a little wonky and put a leaf there. It's not going to be quite as yellow as the others. Here's another, I don't know if, let me move this up a tiny bit. You guys can see this one. So with this one, I'll put the center here, and then I'll put it kind of like it's behind the other one. So there we have some floral elements, and I really like that. I'm going to move this back down a hair because I want to see what's going on here. So I usually work in odd numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So even though there's not any, I'm going to remedy the fact that there's no yellow down here. And I'm going to put just a blob, and it'll dry pretty quickly because I'm not keeping it thick at all. And then we'll later go over that with the black marker. Now I also have my white one. And a cool thing to do with the white that I enjoy is you can go back in and kind of outline some of the things with the flowers. So you can see it kind of brings them to life a little bit. This is the most fun thing I think about masterboards is anything goes. So if you want to doodle on it, you want to create your own interesting masterpiece with it, that's what it's all about. So, you know, if you have a particular skill or something that you like doing, you know, go ahead and do that. Like, for example, these circles, we could definitely go inside them more. Let me see if shake my pen a little bit so it will flow a little bit better. It might not like writing over top of some of these bumps. Okay, there we got it. A little bit shaken out a little bit more so the lines will look a little bit darker. So with your Poscas, you don't have to beat them on the table. You don't have to do any of those crazy things. Just give it a shake and a prime or two and it should work, unless it's getting empty. Then you may have a challenge with getting some of it out. Now this circle right here is covered up by the floral, so you really can't see it. And this one right here will probably eventually be covered up. So I'm not going to worry too much about what's even or odd on this, because we're going to cut it up anyway. So there is another interesting way that you can add interest to your pages. And as soon as this yellow comes back, I'm going to come through and stamp that. I also wanted to put on here something that would, I love the flowers in the front, but I want to use something that might push them back a little bit. So I'm going to look for, give me a moment, I'm going to get some corrugated cardboard. And I'm going to take the top layer off of it, if I can, a layer, so that you get the part that's kind of what I call ribbed, or the nice texture part, which is right in here. So don't worry if there's little pieces still on it, because that's going to add some interest as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gesso. You can use white paint as well if you don't have gesso. As you can see, I have a ton of gesso. And I'm just going to spread this out. To make sure it's on the edges of the, and I'm just going to kind of press this down in different places. Oops, let's see if it's going to work. Not very much. Okay, so let's add some more gesso, and let's use something else. Just put it on with. Maybe that other was taking it off rather than putting it on. So here, we'll put some here. Yeah, that added more. Put some here. Here. And what that does, as I mentioned, is it kind of pushes back the floral images so they're not so in your face, if you will. And there we have a bunch of cool stripes. Okay, love that. Now, let me go, this yellow I think is dry. So let me make a floral out of this one. It's still wet, so I'll wait. I like that white on there to kind of take away from some of the So this is just a credit card. I'm going to put a little bit of gesso on it. And I'm just going to go down the edges. Just go down the edges because remember, I'm going to be using some of this. I'm going to be using this edge. So I want it to be decorated somewhat because I want it to show. I want to use that I'm taking some of this gold that I have left over from the spattering. And what I think is fun too is if you don't, one of the reasons why I love playing the roulette is because it gives you a starting point. If you're not exactly sure where you're going to start with your overall design, start with the roulette and see how that gives you different options, and then from there you can decide what else your piece may need. And that's why I like playing that, because it gives me a good basis for what I want to do with my project. So I'm going to I thought I had another script stamp here close. Let me see. I don't see it. That's okay. I think I'm going to take a stencil and let me see which one I have. Okay, give me a moment because I may not use a stencil. I'm wondering if I want to add anything else to this before I trim it down. I'm going to put maybe, let me cut this in half. Okay. I think, with the exception of drawing this when it's completely dry, I think I'm going to call this done for now. There's one other thing that I do like to do, and I just have to check to make sure I have some dry areas, and that is some general mark making. And one of the things I do like to is put some faux writing on here, and that always looks fun when you do that, especially when you cut down your papers then. Also, you can do mark making just by putting little tick marks different places. Okay, so this again is going to have to dry nice and you know, be nice and dry for us. And then once it is, I'm going to take my cutter and cut this down into some ATC sizes and show you how it looks after cutting it down. So you can see how doing the different designs when it's in a smaller format, how it looks. So I will be back again with the last part where we will be cutting these down into ATC size. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Hi everyone, I'm back and I've cut down my masterboard into some ATC size cards and they came out so nice. And what I was doing here is just kind of auditioning some watercolor flowers. So let me pull these up. They're not glued down yet. I made these over the last few days. They're just something that's really relaxing and fun. And here are my cards. So what I was mentioning to you before, when you make a masterboard and you're actually looking at the huge piece, it's difficult to envision sometimes what that piece is going to look like when you cut it down. So with these, this one's has a little bit more of the security envelope on it. So I just need to do something right here on the corner because it's kind of blank. But I'll go through these with you and show you how they turned out. You can see, I can definitely feel the texture paste on there. So that was a good idea. This one got some of the gold. This one has some of the flower and the circle. This one has a flower and some of the faux writing. And this one, a circle and faux writing. So see how this one's a little bit more plain than maybe some of the others. This one as well got some of the security envelope, which is very cool. Let me see if I can get my camera to do close-ups for you. Here we have this one and this one. This one came out really cool, as well as this one. So I got out of them out of my sheet after cutting some of the border off about 10 to 12 ATC size cards. This one, as I mentioned, I need to work on a little bit. And then I cut these two longer ones. And what I'm going to do with them is I'm actually going to put them on some cards. So I'm not sure of the exact size of the card, but I want to put them on a greeting card so that I can showcase my art on a greeting card. And I have one here. It's the larger size. I'm not sure. I can always cut down my own if I need to. But even just putting this right here on a card, maybe with some words or another little cluster of something, would be cute, or even just by itself. And this one's smaller, but it would look nice as well. You could draw yourself a little frame around here, or find something that would be frame-like to put with it. I have been, with the watercolor flowers, even something like a little floral motif on the top would look cute, you know, and try to still show some of your masterboard, but yet put maybe the florals on it. So that's one thing you can do, is make yourself a greeting card to send to a special artistic friend. And I'm just going to take a couple of these out that I really like. This one was one of my favorites with the circle. But just in looking at some of my watercolor flowers I have, they might go on some of these. And then I could draw a stem if I wanted to. I could draw leaves. Even with this one that I need to fix down here, even if I didn't and just added a big one, it would look pretty cute. So that's what I plan to do with my masterboard. And I hope you enjoyed this process. As I mentioned, with the roulette, it gives you a basis for starting your masterboard. You can run through those three. I have paint all over them now, but you can run through those three things, which is color, technique, and medium. And you can change these up as you want. So if you don't have the texture paste, maybe put something else there. Rather than putting ink/spray, you can make this stamping ink, and then you could put spray down here. If you don't like watercolor, you could put gouache, or and here you could put colored pencil. So you can make the color scheme and the mediums different. You can also make your techniques different. I found these to be the best ones with the example of the gel plate. I'm not, if I do the gel plate again, I think I would eliminate the texture paste, just because texture paste and gel plate don't go that well together and can cause you to damage your gel plate. I was only using a small one, so it was a very small area to clear, so I don't think that it was going to be a terrible idea. But here are the templates that we used for the roulette. Here is our Masterboard Madness poster. So if you watch, comment, subscribe to all the ladies in the comments. We are going to have a fun rest of March. We're only on day 12, so we are not even halfway through. So I hope you all had fun, and we'll come back again and visit my channel and visit everyone else. And I hope you win. Good luck for that. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.